We're the Meltdown here with yet another summer blockbuster here in 2024 as we just all got a chance to see the opening night of Twisters. This is the somewhat sequel to the 90s film Twister and doesn't really tie in at all, but we will have some spoilers about what is a part of this theatrical experience. So if you have not yet seen Twisters and you want to see the movie first, go do that and come back to us, save this video for later. I am Tim Melton. Panel includes co-host of the Meltdown, Mr. John Lunsford. You see him daily, 2 o'clock Central, 3 o'clock Eastern. Our producer, that is the loyal Tyler Lionel John's back there. And then we have Laurel Lunsford, who really liked Twister growing up, right?
I did. I really liked it.
Iconic imagery, iconic VHS case.
Yeah.
Let's talk really quickly about the impact that Twister had on us at a young age, because this was the first film that I remember my parents taking me to that I thought, wow, my parents, this is not their type of movie, and they're taking me to a movie like this. And I went into the theater. It was bright. It was sunshiny. Everything was great. Walked out of Twister. And it was dark, raining, and I was terrified as a 6-year-old coming out of Twister.
Movie, though.
It was so memorable, and I appreciate my parents bringing me to that film. They didn't go to movies, hardly ever. They went to go see Twister. What was it about Twister that broke through, in your opinion, to the mainstream, to where it wasn't just a sort of schlocky disaster movie? It became something that was really a movement.
And Tim, I spent the summers, my mom, she probably didn't know what to do with my brother and I, so we went to the movies a lot, and my grandparents were, so it was like a fun, like a Friday affair. Like we would go to the movies, like the first showing, and I remember we went to go see Twister. And I know it's weird to think about this now, but Helen Hunt was like a big deal back then.
Absolutely.
Like she was an A-lister, because not only did she have Mad About You that she won a lot of Emmys for, but she's an Oscar-winning actress.
Later in Castaway.
Yeah, in Castaway and As Good as It Gets, which that was the Titanic year. But I really liked her. She kind of reminded me of Laura Dern a little bit in Jurassic Park, kind of like that strong female presence. And I think
sciencey.
Yes, very sciencey. Even a similar look. Yeah. But Philip Seymour Hoffman, funny, and then it's Bill Paxton, correct?
Yeah, correct.
Yes. And I've heard rumors that they didn't really care for each other on set, but I feel like they had good chemistry together. So I think that's all those things combined made it for a classic that became a Universal Studios attraction later on.
John, agree or disagree? The secret sauce of both Twister and Twisters is the same, in that it can shift gears into being a million different types of movies in one movie. It can be an action movie, it can be a romance movie, it can be a comedy, it can be literally everything, and it shifts gears effortlessly. I can't say that effortlessly.
The words got twisted.
It did. Thank you, guys.
The words got twisted.
Appreciate you guys
job,
very
Tyler.
much here.
Fun.
I apologize. But it can be a million different types of movies within one movie. That's the secret sauce of Twister, and that's the secret sauce of Twisters, in my opinion.
Yes, Twisters doesn't go enough in. I can't believe I'm saying I actually agree with my wife on this, but it doesn't go enough into the love romance aspect that I felt like, I would have noticed this if Laura had not pointed it out, but she's pointed out in a lot of movies this year and last year, just in recent memory, that like they don't go into the romantic aspect as much because I feel like it's not about the love story, it's about the tornado, or it's about whatever the movie is, if it's not a romantic drama or comedy. And in this one, like there were so many times it's like, for the love of God, just kiss each other. Like they kept teasing and teasing all the way until the movie ended, and then the movie ended and they still hadn't kissed each other, and it's like, oh my God, like I get there's a little sexual tension here, but like just do it. But they would never actually do it.
But what was interesting about this movie is they teased it with two of the characters, because what is the guy from Into the Heights? I don't remember.
Anthony Ramos.
It was kind of rumored that he had a crush on her because he looked at her longingly, and several times he said, at one point I would have done anything for you, which you don't say that to a friend.
He definitely had a crush on her. There's no doubt.
I would have rated the movie higher had they have delved into either one of those, because there has to be
something. And then at the end, he's like, go get her, Tiger, and then they still don't kiss.
Yes.
Anyway. But just to get to your point of like it could go back and forth, every time it seemed like it would get away from the tornado and go more into the personal, she's found somebody to replace her boyfriend who died.
Yes.
Well, did she? I don't know, because they didn't actually do anything. All right, we're going to go back to the tornado now.
The movie was funnier than I thought it was going to be. I actually think every attempt that they made at humor in this landed. I think it was funny having the British reporter along for the ride, having the guy yelling, "Twins! We got twins!"
like
even though
that
I've
guy.
That was
seen that.
so overplayed in the trailer. When it finally happened, I was
Guys,
like, thank God that got done with quick.
It was overplayed in the trailer, but I guess I'm saying the character himself provided some really funny moments. The YouTube element of this, obviously, we're here. You're watching us probably on YouTube right now if you're not
We
listening.
are fellow hillbillies with a YouTube channel.
We are.
Yes.
The marketing aspect of what the lead character of Tyler has to do in this, with selling merch at all these different events and getting his stream numbers. It did feel like at one point, one of my nitpicks, I have a couple, is that he abandoned his stream followers for a while there in the movie to where he was never filming any content.
Yeah.
I noticed that too.
You're doing all this stuff and none of it is content now. I mean, it's like you've abandoned your whole entire business philosophy. How are you funding this?
Yeah, the people who consume his content and the people he just works with. I mean, for like 2 days, it's just like, I'm going to go chase this girl. And they never kissed, at least if they had gotten something out of it.
I got it. You want them to kiss, John.
Just saying.
Calm down. Somebody
I
fire
agree.
hose John over here, please. Another thing is, like, there's all this destruction of this town in the third act of the movie, in the big final sequence. I mean, everything's being destroyed. The water tower's coming down. Everything's getting crushed. You've got railway cars that are going off the tracks. You got everything going on here. And yet, the movie theater still has enough power to show the movie.
Yeah, they kept
That's
showing
going
that
on.
movie until
It
there
was
literally was not
Frankenstein
a...
too.
It was Frankenstein,
Yeah.
Universal plug there.
There literally, until there was no screen for it to be shown on anymore, it was still playing.
I think there was power in that theater throughout the entire time. John, we've had thunderstorms roll through in Vestavia before that have knocked out power.
I've sneezed hard enough sometimes that it takes
knocked
it out.
And I'm thinking to myself, like, that is a really impressive electrical system in this town. There's just certain little nitpicks. When they get very sciencey and trying to explain everything, so we're going to shoot a diaper up into the tornado and it's going to solve everything. And then it's like, okay, I'll go along with that because it's a movie. I don't need 3 more sequences of them discussing the science of what it is that they're trying to do to try to fill the time. That's what kept it from being a 5-star movie for me, is that there were moments where I was just like, okay, this is just, you take everything else so seriously to then miss these little things.
I think that's good. I think if it had shaved off about 20 minutes and added some of the romance, it would have probably been like about a 4 or a 4.5 for me, really. I just didn't think that there was... It just kind of dragged. Like I said, I did fall asleep during like one small portion of it, but it's just because it was going. It was just like the talking about the science, and it's like
I assume, like I thought probably 30 minutes into the movie there had already been enough science talk, because of course there's a whole opening sequence where there's science talk. She goes to the National Weather Service where there's more science talk. That event at 30 minutes in, I was like, you know what? I'm not even going to listen when they start talking science. I'm just going to assume it's all correct.
Right.
All the theories and all the technicality of what they're saying is correct. And I'll just take it and let's get to the tornado because I want to see some destruction. Then
I
like the science
also
talk. I'll throw out that take.
Tyler's smart.
I enjoyed it.
I did think maybe I knew that it wasn't connected, but maybe something that could have tied it in is when she went to go see her mom, which I love how her mom was not startled at all that her daughter that she hadn't seen in years was just in her kitchen, and she was just like, "Mom, it's me," and no startlement. It's just like, "Oh, okay."
Oh, okay, hey.
But maybe like if it could have been Helen Hunt.
She's been waiting this whole entire time. I'm not
Maybe
sure if you're aware.
if it
I don't
had
know
been
what to do with these science projects.
I think
Do I
it's
throw them out?
amazing.
Do I keep them?
I think it's amazing that she recognized her because she hadn't been home in years.
Yeah,
and she
it
comes
had
home
been
just
years.
Yeah, she was
covered
all
in
beat
dirt,
up,
her
yeah.
hair's all matted.
I promise it's me. If it had been Helen Hunt, I don't know, just some tie-in to the original that or
And some random
that
guy
was her
struck, too.
aunt. I wish there was some tie-in to the original.
Like,
That's just me.
I was expecting her mom to be somebody, even if it's just for
The
like
news
5
reporter
minutes.
from the first movie, the one that's like riding around.
Just anybody,
Yeah.
or her dad to have, even if the mom is somebody that's new. So Mara Tierney not being in the first one, if her dad ended up being like Alan Ruck or somebody small from the first movie that like, oh yeah, they were in Twister or something like
Philip
that.
Seymour Hoffman.
That but none of that ever actually happened.
But we know it's a marketing thing, right? You can't give this thing an original title and do this because it's just going to get compared to Twister anyway. They went ahead. They decided, we've got this property under our belt already. Let's go ahead and do something with it. And I think it's going to make money at the box office, and that the short-term complaints we have about, it not having that tie-in will end up being overtaken by the box office receipts that I think are going to be pretty healthy for this film. Tyler, why did this one work for you? Because you went in with a little bit of okay, I'm going to get through this. I'm expecting it to be okay, but I'm just, I'm here to check a box. And you walked out going, that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that. It surprised you.
Yeah, it really did surprise me. I'm not a fan of disaster movies in any way. I also wasn't crazy about the original Twister. Like, for y'all that was either first DVD you rented or
Right.
you remember going and seeing it opening weekend,
we do have a nostalgia for it that you don't have just based on age.
To me, it's a movie that just played on AMC sometimes, and maybe I'd watch it. So I don't have that same affinity for it. But this one was just a lot of fun. It was funny when it needed to be, like we've said. I really liked the camaraderie between everybody on the YouTube stream team, the Tornado Wrangler team. I thought that just made it a lot of fun, and you could just have these moments of relief, even with little lines.
What is it? If you feel it, chase it. Isn't that the whole?
Chase it. Yeah. I said that 5,000 times last night to Laurel just because it got stuck in my head because I said it so much. One thing about this, and honestly, I don't remember from the first movie because it's been a long time since I watched it, but in the first movie, I feel like the villain was the tornado, like the tornadoes, plural. But in this one, I didn't like the addition of the villain being the insurance guy, basically coming to scam people out of their property.
I liked it. It worked for me.
It's like, I don't necessarily care about that angle. I'm fine with having some kind of division between Daisy Edgar-Jones and Anthony Ramos because they were the friends that survived that, tornado before. So creating some kind of rift between them. But that, and I didn't care for Superman either to kind of be the other part of that bad team that, Anthony Ramos was with. But like that aspect of it, I didn't necessarily care for. And every time it popped up, it's like, you're doing something to just get her into the arms of Glen Powell, even though never actually in his arms because they didn't kiss. But
it's not true in the pool. He's got his arms literally around her. There's a
during the tornado while he's saving, has to put his arms around her. But like it was a weird angle that didn't necessarily belong. The whole point is to watch the tornadoes and watch the destruction of the tornadoes and to see them do their science experiments within the tornadoes. And that had nothing to do with that. And I didn't necessarily care for it.
That's perfectly A-okay. This is a Glen Powell vehicle to test his marketability for future projects as being an A-lister. Do we consider Glen Powell to already be an A-lister? And will he be an A-lister after this movie if you didn't already consider him to be one going into this weekend?
A really solid B-lister. I think he'll be in with some A-list names. And, if this wasn't already a vehicle, would it make a ton of money? Would you just go see a movie about tornado? I don't know.
I think it's a very high, regardless of my opinion, I think he's a very high B-lister because if you did something completely unique with a high budget that he was the star of, would it automatically make bank? I don't think it necessarily would. This is something that already existed to help, I do think it will help him. Top Gun did as well.
I think the movie star role has changed over the years to where we redefine what an A-lister actually is because there is no person on the planet right now that can do what you just said, which is they're immediately in it and everybody goes to see it. There's nobody.
Kinds of Kindness didn't even work like that.
I'm not going to go with that.
You can't say Leo because Killers of the Flower Moon didn't perform. Yeah. It was a loss.
I think it's just because
Hollywood, the what we consider to be an A-lister now has changed.
And
now it's marketability.
That's due because movies have changed.
That's my thing. I think it's the industry
more so than that.
But I'm saying if you were to do the exact same movie, and this is not necessarily the thing, but this is what everybody's, including y'all, is comparing him to, with Tom Cruise versus Glen Powell, and I know ages are very different with those two. That if it's the exact same movie but replace those two people, a Tom Cruise movie still makes way more money than Glen Powell, strictly based on the name of the person in the movie.
The latest Mission Impossible, was a loss.
That's a franchise it's a long running franchise. That do people still have the same affinity for that franchise that they've had?
If Glen Powell made Oblivion, I don't think I care about going to see it.
For Tom Cruise
did Oblivion, and I would want to see it.
But I would say more people have affinity for Tom Cruise than they do for Glen Powell, and Top Gun is proof of that.
Well, Glen Powell was also in that movie, and helped
people didn't go see it because of Glen Powell. But Tom Cruise is what made Glen Powell.
That wasn't the point of the movie.
Tom Cruise made Glen Powell.
And he continues to make Glen Powell. It's almost like he's passing the torch. But
he may be. I'm just saying.
That's why in
y'all made
our
a comparison.
short
That's
last night, I said Glen Powell will be the next Tom Cruise.
I think
that's the only reason I use that name.
Romantically, I think that's where he is going to make his money, and I don't know why they're not. What's the movie with Sydney Sweeney? Anyone But You. That movie did really well, and people really liked it. I think this is the bigger issue: is why aren't they making movies like that anymore? People clearly want to see it, and he would kill. Like, he would be a great Matthew McConaughey replacement. Like, he could do How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. Even Patrick Dempsey, another person like that. He would kill in those roles. But they're not making those movies, and I don't know why, because people want to see it.
We all live here in the South, and one fear I had going into this was it was going to be, a bunch of dumb cowpokes out there being a bunch of idiots, and spitting tobacco out of their mouth, and that was going to be how it was sort of categorized. And it wasn't. It was like...
There's a little bit, but not a ton.
I thought it was pretty respectful of everybody that was caught in this part of the country that doesn't get a lot of attention. Do you figure that to be one of the strengths of the movie, Tyler, is that it plays to all different types of people? It's a very diverse cast, too.
Absolutely. I feel like a lot of times when movies go anywhere near the Deep South or the Midwest, they go with these caricatures tropes of how people act. And just because they're easily recognizable as like, oh, that is a Southern person, or that's, an Oklahoma or Texas person, it doesn't really appeal to a large portion of the country to see their neighbors as that way. Yeah. When in this movie, Glen Powell, he had a PhD in this movie, did he not? And he's still a good old Southern boy that likes going to the rodeo.
I thought he just had a college degree, but maybe he had a PhD.
Can I make a comment about he did not necessarily pursue that, but like he was going to or something?
Yeah, I think it was... They went kind of back and forth on this. It was confusing because early on it was like, we don't need a bunch of degrees to run our operation.
No, I have a
But
and then
Glen
later
Powell
it's
was
like,
the only
I'm
one who had a
actually very
meteor.
astute here in the diaper science of tornado vortexes. And
it sounds like he was educated, but he wasn't like, oh, I went through every single aspect of it with PhD.
And I love the turn they made of this guy's a total D-bag to, okay, he's actually just... kind of playing things up to an 11.
Which is what they do in a lot of romantic movies, which is why
the bad boys actually got a heart. Okay.
Yeah.
So, final thoughts here on Twisters. I think it's going to do well. I think it's going to hold pretty well, and I think it plays to exactly what audiences want from this movie. It is a crowd pleaser if I've ever seen one. That's what Twisters is. I give it a 4 out of 5. There's a couple of nitpicks I have to keep it from a perfect 5 out of 5. And I do think it leaves the door open for more of these movies to get made down the line where you will get more of that romance that you crave so desperately, John.
If it's the same people in it, or they'll do new people, and who knows. I give it a 3.5 out of 5, which is still not bad. I thought I would come out about a 3 out of 5. It was the biggest thing that probably moved it from a 3, my preconceived notion of what the movie would be, up, is I thought the CGI was very well done in it. To where you don't feel like, this is like a Sharknado.
It's a great mix of practical and digital effects.
That, with a tornado, you can make it look very cheesy or you can make it look very good. Despite all my Glen Powell hatred, I don't like Daisy Edgar-Jones. Really, the only thing I've really seen her in is Where the Crawdads Sing. Was Normal People, the show that she was on,
which is a really good show. People should watch it.
She reminds me of a Holly Hunter type. I mean, she's kind of got that vibe to her in this movie.
She looks like a female Joseph Quinn. Someone made that comparison.
She does. Joseph Quinn and everybody.
We got to throw Eddie in there somehow.
What shirt are you wearing today?
No, I have a House of Dragon shirt on today.
Now, she was on Normal People with Paul Mescal, who's about to star in Gladiator with Joseph Quinn. But Where the Crawdads Sing, and I didn't read the book, and I know everybody lost their mind over that book. And when the movie came out, everybody was like, "We gotta go see this movie." But I did not like her in that movie, and that's really the only thing I've seen. She does not have a very long filmography, and that's kind of it. Those couple things are really the only mainstream things she's done. Yeah. But she is very much the main character of this, and Glen Powell is very much second. I think that it's about her story, her losing her boyfriend in the beginning and all that. That, it's her story, and Glen Powell coming into it as like the bad boy we're going to ignore. Oh, no, wait, we need to bring him into this. I like Anthony Ramos.
I do too.
I know he's a Hamilton person. So
you were saying that as a slight.
No. I know he's a Hamilton person, which probably puts him high on your list. But
A Star is Born, John.
He is in A Star is Born. I liked In the Heights. He has done a lot of things. So I like him okay. It's had an interesting kind of side cast. So Katie O'Brien, who is one of the leads in Love Lies Bleeding, was one of his people. Sasha Lane is one of his people who's been in a bunch of stuff as well. Paul Scheer randomly being the airport police at the end.
He was funny.
That's a random role. He's actually a decent actor to randomly be in. Maybe it was just like hey, I wouldn't mind being in it kind of thing.
It was funny.
Throw in Bill Paxton's kid in there for a hot second at the motel, screaming is very much like Tyler.
It was like Tyler talking about college football.
So there's a lot of like random kind of people kind of thrown in there that did work for me, even though I don't like the two main people who are in it. But 3.5. It was fun.
Tyler, final thoughts on Twisters. This is a movie obviously you recommend. Is this something that you may get friends and family to go see, or is this something that's a one-off for you that you will remember fondly, but you're ready to move on?
This will probably be the only time I watch it, but I will be recommending it to my family because they are big fans of the original Twister, and I think they would like this one even more because they were also big Top Gun Maverick fans. So they'll see this and be like, I remember that guy. I'll go see it.
Yeah, and I think that's why you have Tom Cruise there as well at the Twisters premiere to push this thing over, trying to get some of that Top Gun.
Yep.
What did I say wrong?
I said he's got nothing else to do.
Oh, okay. So 4 out of 5 for you?
Yep, 4 out of 5
a
stars. It
recommendation?
is a summer blockbuster.
Laurel, final thoughts on Twisters?
I gave it a 3 out of 5. I think it's a really fun movie to go see with friends. I think it would be a good date night movie with parents. If you want to just go, if you want to just go by yourself, it's loud. I think it'd be a fun movie to get to. I mean,
it's loud. You slept soundly during it.
And if you go on a date, you got a better chance of kissing than that would actually happen in the movie.
All right. Laurel, there's one last thing I want to talk about, and that's the first 15 minutes of the movie. The vibe I had was these were a bunch of camp counselors that were about to get killed.
They did. I was kind of shocked that they all were knocked off one by one.
I was not. I was fully expecting it.
I knew the boyfriend for sure was because I was like, Glen Powell can't be in this movie if the boyfriend exists.
But I thought the acting was so wooden in the beginning that I was like, oh my gosh, am I going to walk out of this thing hating it? But it really was. These characters are just meant to be disposable, so that way there's motivation for the rest of the story.
Yeah.
I thought the movie got better as it went along, and the more interpersonal it became, to y'all's credit of your major complaint of the movie, the more interpersonal it became, the better I thought it got.
I think if it had been more interpersonal, it would have been better.
Absolutely.
Because you want to care about both characters living for each other.
You want to have a payoff of something. You want to see them get together.
This movie could have used a sex scene.
And you know what? There is a kiss. There is a kiss scene that got cut.
Just a kissing scene.
Tyler, all I asked us for was a kiss. I mean,
but there is a
I'm
kissing
agreeing
scene that
with
got
you,
cut.
John. I'm tired of movies just going straight to the sex scene and not just having a kissing scene and then you make a creative cut.
Kiss.
I got it. I think this movie could have used a romance scene, I guess. I mean, I didn't think we needed an intimacy coordinator to have this conversation here in the studio.
I would just
that movie doesn't need one.
It could have ramped it up a little bit. Okay, everybody calm down. We've made it through this week. I think we're at the finish line. Twisters, did it blow you away? We would love to know in the comment section below. Let us know.
Get it?
That was not meant to be a pun. My question to you, John, is if you want to blow up your bankroll, where can you turn to? I think it's our title sponsor.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but go to mybookie.ag. Use promo code next round. You see it in the corner there. Promo code next round. You too can play in the sportsbook, play in the casino, the live casino, and you can make a lot of money at mybookie.ag.
I meant blow up from inflate your bankroll. If you want to inflate your bankroll, your stacks, that's what I'm doing. All right, that's going to do it for Twisters. We somehow have still maintained our friendships here on this show. What'd you think? Let us know in the comment section below. We've got Deadpool and Wolverine, our review of it coming out very soon. Make sure you're subscribed here to the Meltdown for all the latest movie reviews.